Welcome back, everybody. I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed these VRs that have been going around recently. I've enjoyed watching everybody's, loved hearing everybody's point of view, whatever it might be, on these 10 questions and why we collect. Been amazing. Be good to have a few more of these going round again. Anyway, sort of doing them videos got me thinking, really. And a subject that seems to come up a lot in the videos, in those VRs, is the subject of modern versus retro. And the majority of us in this kind of community more seem to favour the retro. It's not always the case, but I think overall there's probably more in favour of retro than there is of modern. Myself being one of those, I much prefer retro to modern. But I think in some cases I'm quite harsh on modern stuff and my dislike of it. And I think it's watching all these videos and reading some of the comments to my video kind of made me start thinking about modern and retro and my kind of opinion on it. So I thought I'd have a bit of a ramble. I don't know where this video is going to go, to be honest. It's just like I say, I'm just going to witter on about retro and modern. There's absolutely no right answers. Nobody's wrong, nobody's right. It's a matter of opinion. We're all entitled to one, and yours is the right one for you, and that's all that matters. Everybody else has got a different one, and it's just something I find interesting, hearing different people's thoughts. So, as I say, I much prefer retro, and I'm quite dismissive of modern. But I mean, where do you draw the line? It's more than likely an age thing. Like what I consider modern, a younger person might consider retro. A really young person would consider PS4 retro. I mean, to me, that's as modern as it gets. To my way of thinking, modern is anything HD and onwards, which is like PS3, 360. Anything after that to me is modern. And prior to that, I would class as retro. But like I say, a younger person wouldn't think like that, obviously, because they've got different experiences. This kind of comes back to the being born in the 70s, and if you were lucky enough to be so, you've grown up with gaming and you've been alive at the best time to be alive for video games, in my opinion. That's a separate subject, really. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, modern and retro. So that's kind of my line in the sand, if you like. HD stuff, modern. Prior to that, retro. You could argue that sort of home computers and Atari type stuff is perhaps vintage, maybe, but it don't matter. It's all retro, and it's all gaming. That's what it's all about. But like I say, I am quite harsh on modern in my videos when I talk about this kind of subject. And watching these videos has got me thinking, because there are many aspects of modern which I do really like, and I think it's got massive benefits in some ways. So, although I might come across as being very dismissive of modern, there are certainly some big advantages and some great plus points to it. So, it's kind of, although I prefer retro in all aspects, you can use modern stuff to play retro in some great ways. So a combination of both, I think, is the best medium. I'd always prefer original sort of hardware and games, that will always be number one to me. But there'll be people who prefer emulation because they don't want a collection, and that's absolutely fine. If it gets you playing, it don't matter. In my way of thinking, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever works for you. I just personally love collecting old stuff that I had, or old stuff that I wanted and never had, and stuff that I've never got round to, and stuff that interests me. That makes me tick, and I love collecting that kind of stuff. But like I say, the modern systems can be fantastic, because not only in recent years there's been a big kind of upturn, I suppose, in the interest in retro, and there's lots and lots of retro games being made for modern consoles, which obviously aren't available on older consoles because they're brand new games. So that aspect of modern, I think, is fantastic. It's not something I've delved too deeply in, purely from a financial point of view, really. All my spare cash goes on buying retro. Once I've got sort of the retro that I'm looking for, and I don't feel I'm that far away from it, to be honest, then I might look at this newer sort of modern retro, if you like, as in the brand new games for modern systems. I've bought a few, but not that many in comparison with what's available. But I can see myself buying a few of those in the future. And obviously, as time goes on, they'll be a bit older and they'll be a bit cheaper to buy. Even better. So I think that aspect of brand new consoles is great, and I love that. It's nice knowing that they're when I get round to it. And I think the other amazing thing about modern consoles, and when I say modern, it's been going on pretty much since, it is that modern era I was talking about, really, the HD era onwards. Sort of PS3, 360, and I will throw the Wii in with this category, even though the Wii's not HD. It's where I first started using this principle, and the Wii was the console I played most out of that generation of Wii, PS3 and 360. But anyway, what I'm talking about is obviously downloading games, and predominantly old retro style games. And the Virtual Console on the Wii was amazing for that. I had a great collection of old sort of classics off the Mega Drive, the Super Nintendo, that you could download on the Virtual Console, and that was amazing. Loved it. I mean, if only they'd do a Virtual Console now, but it's all these bloody subscription services, isn't it? I haven't got time for that. But that's where it started for me. That principle was on the Wii, and then obviously you've been able to do that on the 360 and the PS3, and subsequently the PS4, Switch, whatever. And now on modern consoles, like sort of contemporary, up-to-date consoles like the PS4 and the Switch, I think I predominantly use those for these kind of old games that I can download onto them. For you can buy games for £1. Sometimes when they're on sale, even less than £1. I mean, it's incredible, really. It's even cheaper than we were buying budget games back in the day for the Specky or Commodore Amstrad, whatever you had. And you used to bike it down the paper shop to buy your £1.99 game. You can buy a full game downloaded on your Switch or your PS4, when they're on sale, and for less than £1. It's incredible, really. So, again, that part of modern gaming is amazing. You can buy games for this kind of money. And I've bought a few, and there's some decent games for £1. They're not absolute garbage. But more so, what I do is I like these arcade archive titles, which generally are around the £6 mark, and unfortunately they don't often get reduced when the sales are on. But I do find that I like downloading those of my, my favourite games or games I've never tried. I think that service is great, and it also, it kind of helps with when you're sitting down in front of your console and you're wondering what to play. I do enjoy having games that are sort of installed on the console, and you haven't got to get up to get the disc. You haven't got to be energetic. You can just sit there, select a game, and it works because it's installed on the machine. And you can be a real lazy sod and just not get off your arse. I do find that really good. So again, that's something specific to modern consoles, which I think is brilliant. And you can obviously build up a collection of fantastic arcade games in the Arcade Archive series that are on both consoles. You can get some amazing games for, like I say, £6, and hours of fun. I've recently bought a second PS4 actually, because I've made some changes in the garage, and I've kind of changed the one side of it, and anyway, I've bought another PS4 to install in there, purely for download games. So I can sort of buy any arcade game that interests me for the PS4, and I can use this console purely as a download console. And obviously, any game I've bought on my other PS4, you can just re-download them for nothing on your second console. And I'm sort of using this PS4 as kind of an arcade emulation device, really. Which again, brilliant, because I haven't got to go hunting for discs. It just sits there and it's ready to go. Any of these arcade games I've bought, and it's absolutely brilliant. So I think for me it's certainly the most used aspect of modern games for me. Even though I've enjoyed some actual games where you put a disc in or a cartridge in the Switch, whatever. There's still some great games on modern consoles. It's just that 85 to 90% of what's released for me is not to my taste. So that then makes me criticise modern quite a lot, because how I used to love older consoles, and I'd be buying new releases and enjoying them. I don't do that for modern consoles because there's so few games released that interest me. Like I say, I only use modern consoles in, like I say, 90% of cases to play old games. They're just a device to play retro in a different way. I don't actually use them to play modern sort of AAA games. There might be the odd one on the Switch, like Mario Odyssey, for instance. I can't think of one on the PS4, to be honest, that I've bought and enjoyed. It's all my PS4 stuff generally is retro inspired. I suppose the exception is like fighters, because there's some fantastic 2D fighters on modern consoles. So again, they are brilliant for that. Because it allows you to keep up with the modern sort of evolution of the 2D fighter. I don't like the route Street Fighter 6 has gone down, because it's too much story based. I just want to kick shit out of somebody on a fighting game. I'm not into tactics and story. I don't care about that. I just want to beat people. If I want to play a fighting game, I just want to beat people up. So that aspect of it I don't like. But there's some great games aside from that. The BlazBlue games, Under Night. Grand Blue versus. Obviously the Street Fighter. You get King of Fighters. There's loads. Particularly excited about the new Fatal Fury game that's going to be coming out, and I was concerned that it wouldn't be on the PS4, and because I really don't want to buy a PS5. talking about modern, I've got absolutely no interest in buying a PS5. I've gone into CEX when I've been in there, and I've specifically looked at the PS5 section, and I'm looking down, and I'm thinking, there ain't one game here I'd want to buy. So why do I need a PS5? There's not one game I've ever seen that makes me think I need to buy a PS5. And I mean, I know there's lots of guys got them, but the majority of people seem to say it's underwhelming. It's no better than the PS4, and that's how it appears to me. There is only Tekken 8. I think that's the only reason I could justify in wanting a PS5, but there's no way I would buy one just for that game. The only thing I think that would make me buy a PS5, if that Fatal Fury was PS5 exclusive, along with Tekken, maybe. But thankfully, it's coming on the PS4. So I think the only thing that would make me buy a PS5 is if suddenly a miracle happened at Sega. They stopped making shit games about a blue hedgehog, and they actually made something beneficial like Outrun 3, and it was on the PS5. I'd buy one tomorrow. There's no question. But that's not going to happen. So I don't see myself ever buying a PS5, if I'm honest. Certainly not unless something dramatically different happens in the future. I've kind of got off tangent here. I don't know where I was thinking. Anyway, that's kind of that. I'm assuming you can still buy these like arcade type games on a PS5, but there's no reason I can do it on a PS4, so that's fine for me. But yeah, that aspect of modern is brilliant. I love it, but it will never replace, for me personally, the actual physical retro console with a physical retro game and sticking that cartridge in the machine or disc, whatever it is, and firing it up and playing it on a CRT. You can't possibly beat that or replicate it and have the same feeling about it on a modern console for me. But as a whole, I think you need both in your life, and you just use them to the best of what your needs are, and both can be beneficial in different ways. And I wouldn't be without either, if I'm honest. So although I'm much more retro inspired, there is definitely a place for modern in my life. It's just the vast majority of stuff that's made specifically for it is not for me. But I just thought it was a bit of an interesting subject after watching all these VRs go around. And I thought I'd have a ramble, really. So if you want to do a VR to this, feel free. I'm not expecting anybody to, but if you want to, feel free. But what are you, where do you stand on modern and retro and all this nonsense? Like I say, there's no right answers. It's just how you feel about it, really. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, there's lots of aspects of modern, aside from the games not to being to my taste, majority of what's made. Going back to what other people have said in these questions videos, about games being released not finished, and having to download patches, and that irritates me beyond belief. I know in some ways it's good that can be done, but like other people have said, when you bought a game in the past, it worked from day one. There were exceptions, don't get me wrong. Some were broken and unplayable. But in the most part, they work from day one. I know games these days are much, much bigger and it's impossible to test them thoroughly. But it don't stop the frustration, does it? And it's kind of something I struggle to get on board with, and luckily for me, because I don't play those kind of games, it doesn't affect me too much. But I, the frustration would be there for me should I have to suffer it. Same with these sort of limited run companies. I've got no time for that whatsoever. They want your money up front, and then they decide to send you the game in like 12 months, 2 years, whenever they feel like it. No, thank you. Not for me. You're not getting my money. So again, that's more sort of modern related stuff that I can't cope with. Give me an old cartridge, or a CD, or a DVD, or a cassette even. Oh, there's nothing like retro. Retro will always be king to me, in whatever form suits you. Retro. Playing retro is all that matters to me. I just have the occasional dalliance with a new game when one gets released that floats them about. But you can have great retro fun on modern consoles just like you can on actual retro ones. But anyway, I think I've waffled enough. It's a bit of a strange video, I suppose, but there we go. Let me know your thoughts. Be good to hear from you. The comments are what it's all about. That's why I do this. It's like everybody said, or lots of people have said, it's all about the comments, the interaction, making friends. Love that part of YouTube. Brilliant. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.